Zohran Mamdani's woke privileged tenant advocate, Sia Weaver, breaks down crying. If you were afraid of the heat, don't come in the kitchen. We got to check in with Zohran Mamdani over in New York City because things are going absolutely amazing under the new socialist mayor, the far left, longtime radical who has pretty open communist roots. Well, thankfully, we talked about this on the show just recently, how he appointed this crazy woman who'd said like home ownership is white supremacy and no more men in political office and all this stuff, no more white men rather. He appointed her for an important housing position, got all this backlash, just all this crazy stuff about how she's like supposed to negotiate and be involved in tenant-renter relations with landlords, and she's literally a communist who doesn't believe in private property. Clearly there's a problem here. This is somebody pushing an extreme agenda. Well, he's seen the light and he's said, okay, I'm sorry, we're not going to have this radical woman work in my administration. She wasn't properly vetted. Just kidding. He's not doing that at all. He is doubling down on his new employee and her anti-white communist radicalism. So, she got confronted, Sia Weaver is her name, by the way. She got confronted by reporters over the crazy stuff she said and how hypocritical it is, how anti-gentrification, anti-home ownership she is. Yet, of course, her family has gentrified and has owned very expensive homes. So that's always funny how that works, right? But she was reduced to tears when reporters confronted her on this. This is the New York Post. Zohran Mamdani's woke privileged tenant advocate, Sia Weaver, breaks down crying when asked about hypocritical gentrification comments. Now, there are photos here as well where you can literally see she is very upset that they're asking her questions about her public statements. It's like, bitch, I don't know. If you were afraid of the heat, don't come in the kitchen. No one forced you to become a political appointee or political activist. It's ugly. I understand. It must be very unpleasant to have people following you on the street and asking you questions and confronting you about stuff. But if you're reduced to tears by it, knowing they're going to take pictures of you and make fun of you for it, you might not be cut out for this, love. This isn't a fun or friendly game. I wish it was still more civil and more dignified and polite, but it's not. And they're going to scrutinize you. And they have a right to, and they should, when you are literally being appointed to high-ranking positions in the Mamdani administration. So I do not feel bad for this woman. Anyway, more from the New York Post here. Mayor Zohran Mamdani's newly instated radical left tenant advocate, Sia Weaver, broke down Wednesday as she dodged questions from reporters about her gentrification hypocrisy. The 37-year-old who has faced backlash for blasting homeownership as a, quote, weapon of white supremacy in the past, teared up when she emerged briefly from her apartment building in Crown Heights, Brooklyn at about 9 a.m. Guys, remember that she's 37, and these tweets are from when she was in her mid-30s. So her views are actually that radical and crazy. She hasn't evolved. It's not like cancel culture, right? When they wouldn't let Kevin Hart host events because he had tweeted anti-gay things years ago that no longer represent his views today. And who cares, right? Like, that, build a bridge and get over it. The difference is she still believes the crazy shit, and she's being put into a position related to it in the administration. That's not canceling her over old tweets. That's accountability to political leaders being put in positions of authority and power. Sorry. Like I said, get out of the kitchen if you don't want the heat. Anyway, more from the Post here. Weaver, who was tapped by Mamdani to be his new director of the City Office to Protect Tenants, quickly ran back inside after she was asked about the $1.6 million home her mother owns in Nashville, Tennessee. That's terrible that her mother is such a horrific white supremacist. Because after all, home ownership is white supremacy. That's what she said. And all the people of color who own homes or strive to are just self-hating racists. They're white supremacists. They have internalized white supremacy, and they just need a good white progressive like her to explain to them how misguided and racist they are. Anyway, interest in Mamdani's hire kicked off after some of her old social media posts in which the Rochester transplant railed against gentrification resurfaced last week. Quote, there is no such thing as a good gentrifier, only people who are actively working on projects to dismantle white supremacy and capitalism, and people who aren't, Weaver wrote in a 2018 post. Private property, including any kind of especially homeownership, is a weapon of white supremacy, she said in a 2019 post. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if you believe property ownership is white supremacy, you're crazy, by the way, because people have a right to own property. It's not racist. It should be a right afforded to all people of all backgrounds. And it's actually just an extension of the right to provide for yourself and make your own life and work and enjoy the fruits of your own labor. And then the fact that somebody who's like dismantle capitalism, everything is white supremacy, blah, 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 is being put in important positions in the administration, running the global financial center of the world in New York City, is actually crazy and a recipe for sheer and utter disaster. But this story gets crazier, by the way, and Zohran is doubling down on all of this. First, though, we're about to get to it, but if you're watching here on YouTube, do make sure to subscribe to the like button. Please do consider becoming a channel member on YouTube to support my work. It's the best way to help me stay independent so I can call out the left, call out the right, keep it honest with you, not have to pander to the YouTube algorithm. So please, if you can, check out the pinned comment and become a channel member now, or just hit the join button. Anyway, guys, back to Mamdani's new friend. He stands by her unequivocally, despite all this crazy stuff coming out about her, because that's actually the point. Like, he's also radical like that. He's just pretended a little bit since running for mayor to be a little less radical, but this was his whole career. This was his whole lifetime in politics. He was just as radical as her, but then he pretended a little bit to be a little bit more mainstream, but these appointments show his true colors and show how truly radical he is. So he's standing by his babe. Zohran Mamdani stands by Sia Weaver. Quote, "We made the decision to have Sia Weaver serve as our executive director for the mayor's office to protect tenants, to build on the work that she has done to protect tenants across the city. We are already seeing the results of that work." So they're doubling down on the chick who wants to dismantle capitalism and thinks property ownership of any kind, but especially home ownership, is white supremacy, even though her family owns multi-million-dollar homes. So her family is white supremacist, I guess. It's just all so ridiculous, but it's indicative of how extreme this new administration in New York actually is, and the Democrats are embracing it. I truly fear that the Democratic Party is going to completely become the party of Zohran Mamdani and AOC and just diehard socialism, far left radicalism. And then if we end up with like the most extreme toxic version of MAGA trying to succeed Trump, we're in for it as a country, like, because those are two not appealing and not sane or normal options. Anyway, this tweet did crack me up. The left-wing writer David Cleon tweeted, quote, "I know Sia slightly and I've always found her impressive and serious." Are we talking about the same person? Anyway, he wrote, "I see that one of her regrettable tweets was a 2018 quote tweet of one of mine, probably also regrettable but long deleted. As millennials achieve political power, we're going to need a general amnesty on bad old tweets." The audacity of this bitch. Left-wing writers on Twitter are now suggesting there should be an amnesty on bad old tweets. Oh, y'all are the ones that spent years canceling people over their old tweets. And in many cases, those tweets were jokes. Those tweets were old and did not represent the person's current views. So that's actually unfair to try to cancel someone over. And here you are saying we need an amnesty on bad old tweets about things that still describe this woman's worldview today. These are public statements she made as a grown adult in her 30s about the topic that she has just been appointed to the mayor of New York City's administration to lead on. And you're saying you're canceling her over bad old tweets. Do not gaslight me like that. I'm sorry. That's diabolical. This is not cancel culture. She hasn't repudiated any of these statements. I would agree, though I'd find it hypocritical for left-wing people to pull this card, that you shouldn't permanently cancel somebody over old posts and old statements that don't represent who they are today. In this case, this does represent who she is today. So what do you want about? Like, and no, you do not get to cancel people for years. And then when it's your turn and you're being held accountable and not even actually canceled, just held accountable, now it's amnesty for bad old tweets. Sir, you're going to have to shove that one where the sun don't shine, because that is not happening. One final tweet that cracked me up. left-wing socialist writer wrote on X, New York Post and real estate industry are attempting to smear Sia Weaver, an incredibly brilliant and effective tenant organizer. At Zohran Mamdani couldn't have made a smarter pick to run his office to protect tenants. Make no mistake, they want to destroy Sia to destroy tenant power. My favorite part of smearing people is when you review their public statements as adults about the position they professionally, like the topic they professionally work on that they were just appointed to, and then accurately question people about their public state. Like, is the smear in the room with us? I'm just totally missing the part where anyone's being smeared by looking at this crazy activist's public statement she has not repudiated that accurately describe her worldview and asking, like, hey, this is insane. Why are you putting this person in charge? That is not a smear campaign. That is a reality campaign. I'm sorry? What is going on here? They really think they can gaslight us, but they cannot. Not around here. I don't play. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Are you even surprised by this? I'm not. I was going to try to explain how maybe it's a little surprise. It's really not. This is what I expected from Zohran, and I think it's going to keep getting even crazier as we go along here. But y'all will have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and all of that.